Let's go lube up a chicken. So the other day I made a video where I was checking up on my chickens in the cold. And one thing that I noticed is that my rooster has some pretty severe frostbite on his comb. I already have a heat lamp in my chicken coop, but I'm wondering if there's anything more I can do. And one of the recommendations I've found online is to coat the comb in some petroleum jelly. Now, I'm a little bit skeptical about this idea. My understanding is that it keeps moisture away from the comb and prevents any moisture from condensing on the comb and causing frostbite. But without knowing a lot about how petroleum jelly works, I'm very hesitant to just slather it on my chickens before I have any experience with the product. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're going to do an experiment where I'm gonna be putting a few different products on my fingers, one of them being petroleum jelly, and then I'm gonna stand outside and just observe how my fingers feel with these products on them. I'm pretty confident that the petroleum jelly is gonna keep moisture away from my chickens' combs, but I wanna make sure it's not more thermally conductive than just the air or other things that I think are similar. So we're gonna be trying out just some oil because, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure petroleum jelly is an oil-based product. So I'm gonna compare it against just some kitchen oil. And we're also going to test with just water, and then we'll have a control finger that has nothing on it. So I'm gonna get my fingers all set up, and then we're gonna go outside and I'll talk you through how it feels. Right off the bat, the water finger was initially colder, but it dried off fairly quickly, and then it was very similar to just the air finger. So I've kind of wet that with some snow, just kind of sitting around. Some of my other fingers aren't feeling super great right now, but I would say right now I'm feeling water is coldest, then air, then oil, and then I think petroleum jelly. Something about the petroleum jelly does feel a little bit more insulative. Honestly, the oil finger, the oil isn't very thick. There isn't like a whole lot of action there. It's very similar to the air fingers, and that could just be a bias between, you know, index finger versus middle finger, but I'm just gonna keep going and we're gonna see how I feel. Just gonna swing my fingers like this maybe to sort of speed this up. I don't wanna stand around here forever. I would say the air finger is quite cold. Petroleum, definitely, I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I would have expected if you're cooking with an oil-based thing, it conducts heat better than say water. So I would have expected some amount of thermal transfer to go quicker, but it doesn't seem to be the case. The petroleum jelly really does feel a lot more pleasant even than the regular oil one. And I'm not sure if that has to do with the viscosity. Like this oil finger is a very, very thin coat of oil versus this petroleum jelly is quite a bit thicker. But overall, I mean, the petroleum jelly is a little bit more pleasant. Okay, so I've really only been outside for about 3 minutes. It is super, super cold here, so I don't think I'm gonna stay out much longer. I think at this point, all of my fingers feel kind of similar in terms of cold. I guess if I bend them, there's definitely a little bit more numbness setting in on these index fingers here. So this was the air and this was the water. Honestly, the petroleum jelly, from a temperature perspective, is probably not doing a whole lot. But it was initially a little bit warmer, but I think if this is gonna work on chickens at all, it's gonna be related to the fact that it's keeping moisture away from the combs. So I think we can call this experiment here. It doesn't seem like this is going to harm the chickens, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this on my rooster and we'll see how he takes it.
Okay, so editor's note here. I did some research, and as it turns out, petroleum jelly and oil are actually both less thermally conductive than water. So that was a mistake that I made. I suppose I got this assumption because typically you use oil instead of water to reach higher cooking temperatures, but that seems to be more related to the boiling point of water versus its thermal conductivity. So I suppose that does give petroleum jelly a bit of an edge here. One of the other things I noted was that the oil and the pure air control finger felt very similar. In hindsight, I think that this is probably because my skin has oil on it already, and so adding additional oil doesn't really dramatically change the properties of my skin in this particular case. Okay, on to the main event.
We're here. Let's go lube up a chicken. So, I mean, this comb doesn't look too bad. So I'm really only gonna be doing the rooster today. He's not looking so hot on the tips there. But all these other chickens with the smaller combs, they seem to be doing fine. I'm gonna leave him for now. The rooster's kind of a jerk, so we can torture him a little bit. Let's give it a shot. Guess I'll start by putting this on a finger first, and then we're gonna go catch our rooster. Where are you, buddy? Okay, he's not gonna like this. Gonna need a little bit more. Well, he's not gonna like me after this. There we go. Guess I'll get my eggs too while I'm out here.
Okay, let's wrap this video up and answer the question, is this something that's worth doing for your chickens? So I've actually put the petroleum jelly on my rooster a few more times over the last few weeks, and honestly, I'm not convinced that this is really a solution for me. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. In fact, in all likelihood, it does provide some tangible benefit to the rooster's comb, but this experiment isn't very scientific, and there's no real conclusive evidence that we can come to one way or the other. So the main reason that I'm not going to continue doing this with my rooster is simply because of the amount of effort. I've observed that within a day or two, the petroleum jelly on the comb is all gone and needs to be reapplied. And that's just not something that I really want to do. It's kind of a pain to chase one or multiple chickens around so you can put a bunch of this petroleum jelly on them. So after talking with my town's local chicken whisperer, I've ultimately decided to do nothing. We're just going to keep the heat lamp available for them during the day if they want to get a little bit of warmth. And unfortunately, this rooster is just going to have some frostbite. But on a positive note, if we let nature take its course, these thinner parts of the comb will die and fall off the rooster and they won't grow back. So while he may not necessarily be as much of a looker, he won't have to deal with this problem again next year. Maybe I should have bought a different breed of chicken, one that has smaller combs that are less susceptible to frostbite. But I chose this breed because it was advertised to be incredibly hardy, not just in terms of cold, but in terms of stress. And that was really important to me as a new chicken owner. I wanted to get chickens that had the best chance of success as possible. So those are the results of this experiment. I hope you found this video helpful in deciding whether to use this method on your flock of chickens. And if you do currently use petroleum jelly on your chickens, drop a comment, let me know how it works and if you agree or disagree with my findings. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching and sleep well tonight.